Addison Peterson running for Area 3.
Thank you, everyone. That was such a great applause. I really appreciate that. So for all of you who don't know me, my name is Addison Peterson, and I'm running for Antioch City Council Position 3. So earlier today when I was thinking about writing a speech, I was going to write one and I was going to have it all sitting here, but I decided instead to tell you a story about the first time I ever came to Antioch, because I think that story defines this election. I think this story is a story that you will be all familiar with. So, in November 2018, my sister-in-law moved here to Antioch. She was the first one to move here in our family. And we moved her in, and everything's going good. And one of her elderly neighbors comes from across the street. She looks like to be a weak white female. She comes by and she's smiling and she's like, hey, you know, it is so good to meet you all. I'm so glad that you guys are moving here in this neighborhood. She said, you know, there was a time when somebody who looks like you would not have been able to move in this neighborhood.
Wow.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, we're going on this conversation. This is November 2018. I thought we moved past this stuff, right? I mean, you let Donald Trump and the Republicans tell it, they'll tell you that this was a long time ago. This racism doesn't exist, right? But what made me sadder is when this story continued, because as she appeared to be a white female, she revealed later on in this conversation that she was actually Mexican and that she had been married to this white male. And that her whole time that she had lived in Antioch for 60 years, she was one of the first people to buy a home in that neighborhood. I believe her house had to be somewhere built in the 1950s or 1960s. And she said, and she goes, I had to pass off as white the whole time I lived here. You're the only person I've ever told that lives here in Antioch that I'm half Mexican. If my neighbors knew, if my friends knew that I was half Mexican, they would no longer be my friends. And they said the only reason why, you know, we didn't raise a stink about your sister-in-law living here is because she's a police officer. And we respect the police around here. But had she been just another young black girl, we definitely would have said something. And she says, you know, my heart is with you. I'm glad that you're here, but just recognize that other people here may not like that you're here. I'll tell you another story. And this story happened a month later, because at this point in time, my wife and I are thinking about moving out here. We're making a decision. And at the time, I was doing my little side gig stuff. I was driving for Uber. And I came out here to look around and drive for Uber, make some money, while also like getting to know the city a little bit. I picked up a passenger. We started getting into a conversation. I'm taking him out to Concord. And he goes, you know, he's a white male, and he goes, hey man, you know, where do you live? You know, you live around here in Antioch? And I said, no, I'm actually really considering moving here. I said, well, what do you think about it? You live here, what do you think? He goes to tell me, oh, it's a nice, really nice city, you know, it's great, but I gotta tell you, man, if you're thinking about living here, that's something I should tell you, you know. He said, I don't mean no disrespect, I don't normally like to talk about race stuff, but I gotta be really honest with you about what you're gonna get into if you move here. He goes, one time I was out with one of my friends, and we got a phone call, we got the police call on us, and remind you, he said, we're white. They pulled up on us, and they pulled us all out of the car. They beat one of my friends pretty bad, made us get back in and go. He said, I've also heard other stories about what the police can do to black people around here too. He said, you know, this is around the time, I think the dog had bitten a suspect. It was said to be an accident when the text messages revealed later on that it was not an accident, right? And he says, you know, it's not unusual for them to put the canines on people around here either. I've heard that from my black friends. So if I were you, I would be very careful around here. You know, Mayor Hernandez-Thorpe's opponent, Ron Bernal, in his launch party speech said he wants to go back.
Yeah.
He wants Antioch to go back to being the town that it once was. And so, as I tell these stories, I have to ask a question. Go back to what?
Right.
Are we going back to the city of Antioch when the people in this room could not live here? When this was a sundown town? That's what that man told me. He said, this used to be a sundown town. Somebody like you, this is 4 o'clock. You had been out of here by now by 5. He said, there was a time like that where you could not have been here. Pre-1990. Think about that. So is that where Ron Bernal wants to go back to? He wants to go back to sundown towns? Or does he want to go back to the time when it was okay for our police department to harm citizens? As I was reading the stories about Angelo Quinto, because it broke my heart when I started coming to city council meetings, and his mother would show up and she would be crying. And I know that cry all too well because I'm from South Central LA. I've come face to face with the LAPD. I've had guns pulled on me by the LA County Sheriff's Department multiple times. In fact, it's one of the biggest reasons why I don't live in LA anymore. But let me say this. It broke my heart when I had to leave that our city council, I'm sorry, not our city council, but our city manager at the time did nothing. I'm gonna let you say that.
That's true.
Why does it disappoint me? Because if you Google general law city in the state of California, let me tell you what that is. It's a city that's run by the city manager and the city council and the mayor. They may approve the budgets, they may approve ordinances, but they cannot discipline city employees. In fact, there's only 2 city employees that they have the right to discipline in Antioch, and that would be the city manager and the city attorney. You can look at California General Code, look it up. You can also look at our Antioch ordinances and confirm that, right? So, if a city employee murders an Antioch citizen, whose responsibility is that to take control of that situation and to discipline that officer? It's the city manager's job, isn't it? The state of California says that's what the law says, so why didn't he do it? Neither did our district attorney Diana Becton, neither did our state attorney general Rob Bonta, and they said that he died from excited delirium. A term that's not even a medical term. The American Medical Association does not recognize excited delirium as a cause of death. You cannot die from that medically. So how was this accepted in our legal system? But see, that's what our opponents want us to go back to. And you know what I'm going to say? We are not going back. We are not going back to that. However, we will move forward. We will move forward with our new city manager. We will move forward with our new police department. We will forge better connections with our people. We will hire the officers that actually want to work here and serve the people of Antioch.
Yes, sir!
And if you don't want to serve our people, please leave. Get out. We don't need you here. We only want people that are here to unite the people of Antioch. I moved here because I saw the bright future that Antioch has. This future that we have is not doom and gloom. The average age of an Antioch citizen is 37 years old. The average income is $100,000 or more. Does that sound like a place that's poor to you? A place that can't go back from the brink it's at right now? No, of course not. But we are going to move forward and we will fix things together. And I just ask all of you one thing. Partner with me for progress. Partner with me for a new Antioch. And thank you all. I really appreciate it. Thank you.